What's going on, everyone? Welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In this video, we're going to be talking about cold Arctic air pushing down from Canada into the central and eastern US. We're also going to be talking about another type of snowstorm pattern as we go into the last 2 weeks of January, followed by another push of Arctic air. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow along with all my daily updates. We do videos 2 times a day, mostly late morning, early afternoon, and also into the mid-evening hours such as this video. So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow along, turn on all post notifications so you're notified when I do post my videos. Like the video by giving it a thumbs up and share this video on social media. Much appreciated. Let's look at the weather alerts across the entirety of the US on this Saturday evening, and you can see winter weather advisories extending up across parts of the upper Midwest into parts of North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the upper peninsula of Michigan. Also winter weather headlines across the Rockies, where we could see some snow over the next several hours. So going into tonight, we got a little clipper system moving across the upper Midwest, bringing some snow to Minnesota, Wisconsin, and over here into the upper peninsula of Michigan. Some of that snow could extend down into the western suburbs of Chicago, like Rockford down to Peoria as well. Looking at Sunday morning, snowfall continuing, Lake Superior. We have some lake enhancement here, so looking out for some higher totals, especially up here in portions of Ontario, Canada, and the UP of Michigan. Sunday afternoon, still snowing across these areas. Some of that snow spreading into lower Michigan, maybe northern Indiana, northwest Ohio as well. We got some Rocky Mountain snow here further to the west Sunday afternoon. And then going into Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, we're going to watch some rainfall, some hefty amounts of rain moving across the Gulf Coast states into Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, northwest Florida. This could bring us some steady soaking rains for places like New Orleans, up here into Gulfport, Mississippi, Mobile, and maybe as far east as Panama City going into Sunday night. Looking at some snowfall accumulations, pretty light overall. The highest accumulations will be, as you expect, in the higher elevations of the Rockies. That's where we could squeeze out a foot or two of snow from Montana all the way south towards New Mexico. And then our clipper system across the upper Midwest could bring us a good 1 to 3, perhaps 2 to 4 inches worth of snow from eastern North Dakota into parts of northern Minnesota, northwoods of Wisconsin, over here into northern lower Michigan, the UP of Michigan, and we have a little bit of some lake enhancement, but again, most of that will be on the Canadian side over there in Ontario. As far as travel is concerned, minor travel disruptions if you're traveling across the upper Midwest or the northern Rockies, especially up here in central Montana where we see these reds. Those are major travel disruptions, but for the most part, that clipper system will not have too much of travel implications. Just make sure to take the travel slow across the upper Midwest tonight. Going into Sunday, we have limited travel, mostly around the lakes. We could have some minor travel implications here on the off-wind area there of Lake Michigan, so lower Michigan and over here into the upper peninsula, keeping an eye on that, and back here again in the northern Rockies for the travel. As far as rainfall is concerned, some decent soaking rains can be expected from New Orleans over here into southern Mississippi, along the Gulf Coast there in Alabama and northwest Florida, on average around 1 to 1.5 inches. Could possibly see up to 2 inches worth of rain going through your Monday, January 13th timeframe. Let's look at the temperature anomalies heading into the latter part of the weekend tomorrow, Sunday, January 12th. See a good push of Arctic air coming down from the north, from Canada into the northern plains like the Dakotas as we go into Sunday. As we go into Monday, January 13th, a lot of that Arctic air will be pressing east into the central and eastern U.S., really starting to amplify across the east on Wednesday. And then by Friday, some return flow coming in that could turn our temperatures around and actually warm us up in the middle of the country. So let's first look at the central U.S. here for our temperatures that we're looking at as we go throughout the weekend here and into early next week, the middle of next week and beyond. Sunday afternoon, looking at the cold temperatures, look at that, below zero for high temperatures up there in North Dakota, northwest Minnesota there on Sunday. We have that continuing to poke down into Wisconsin on Monday. Going to be a very cold day up there into Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota on Monday. Wind chills will be much colder than this. Wednesday, we're still seeing the single digits to teens for highs up there in the upper Midwest into the Ohio Valley. Look at that return flow though across the plains, the Dakotas, Nebraska, all the way south to Oklahoma. we're going to start to see more 30s and 40s become more common, and that will actually change our weather across Chicago. We could be taking a run at 40 there Friday afternoon. Same thing in Madison, low 40s at 42 in Des Moines, and perhaps upper 30s at least, maybe 40 degrees into the Kansas City area Friday afternoon. Looking at the eastern U.S. on Sunday as well, seeing some colder temperatures, not Arctic air, but cold. You can see here tomorrow into the 20s, maybe some teens up there interior New England where we still have a little bit of a snowpack. Monday afternoon, here comes that Arctic air. We got the teens for areas like Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio, 20s further south into Kentucky and Tennessee. Here come the teens, maybe single digits for highs Wednesday afternoon into parts of Indiana. And then as we go into Friday, here comes that return flow, and it definitely is a warmer flow with temperatures getting back into the 30s, perhaps 40s further to the south. Looking at the precipitation through next week between Monday, January 13th and Friday, January 17th, looks like pretty dry weather. It's going to be cold, dry air. Arctic air is dry air, and we're going to see a lot of that dry weather across the east. That will push our storm track and our snowfall further to the north into Canada as we go through much of next week through the 17th. Now let's talk about the ensembles, because this screams a snowstorm track across the middle of the country as we go into the last 2 weeks of January. So the second to last week, January 17th through the 24th, we got big ridging up here in Alaska and western Canada. That's going to force a trough, and that trough will produce some strong low pressure systems. And where you look for those are on the base of the trough, but also we're looking for colder temperatures first. So that's how you produce snows, with colder temperatures. And you can see it's going to be pretty cold out here, 20 to 25 degrees below normal next week across the lower 48. Our low pressure storm track will center itself down here in the southern plains from central Texas all the way through the Ohio Valley northeast. And on the northwest side of that, that's where the snowfall will be happening. And you can see between the 18th and 20th, that's where the Climate Prediction Center is forecasting the potential of some heavier snow from the northeast, the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes region, back through the Midwest, the Mid-South again, into the central southern plains, and yes, even as far west as the Flagstaff area, for example, in Arizona, Albuquerque, and Denver. So keeping an eye on that. The warm side of the system will be producing some heavier rainfall, perhaps some severe weather and flash flooding, so we'll be keeping an eye on that from Virginia and the Carolinas all the way back toward the Gulf Coast, coastal Texas included again between the 18th and the 20th. Looking at snowfall, the output on the ensemble is pretty good. Looks pretty good here with what the Climate Prediction Center has in place. And you can see these grays all the way down to North Texas again, to the DFW area, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville. You guys definitely have a chance for snow during the 17th through the 24th time frame. Here are the heavier rains setting up from the Gulf Coast again, New Orleans, all the way up here through Birmingham, into Atlanta, over towards Columbia, and even up here towards the Wilmington region in North Carolina. Keeping a very close eye on that for also severe weather and some flash flooding. Let's go into the last week of January, shall we? And look at the January 24th through the 31st. That ridging that was a little bit further off to the east, hovering over western Canada, is going to kind of retrograde further west toward western Alaska, and that's going to pull everything back as well. So we're going to see that trough move a little bit further back toward the Pacific Northwest, and this ridge that's been developing off the east coast will actually shift onto the coast and into the eastern U.S., and that's going to kind of shift everything a little bit further west. So our colder air is going to be shifting a little bit further west, going to be warming up a little bit above normal in Florida there. And there's our storm track. Instead of down here in South Texas, it's over here in New Mexico, Arizona, and moving up through the Midwest Great Lakes on the northwest side of there. That's where we could have some bigger snow. So if you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, Des Moines, the Twin Cities, and you really haven't seen snow this year, this is the week we're paying attention to. The 24th through the 31st of January, that could bring us some bigger probabilities of heavier snowfall, and then the heavier rains will be a little bit further north as well, towards Tennessee, towards the Dixie Alley here, and maybe the lower Ohio River Valley, more of a rain event than snow. We'll keep an eye on that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, check back often for updates, follow along with all my updates daily here on this channel by subscribing. Turn on all post notifications, like the video by giving it a thumbs up down below, and share this video on social media, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Saturday out there.